This year's sugar harvest said to be progressing smoothly. Re-elected BOT President Sean Spencer identifies his priorities. And in sports, RCB finally off the mark in the IPL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC News Night, starting now.
Very good evening to you with the Saturday, April 13th edition of the CBC News Night. I'm Ryan Broom in our top story. Despite having lost some important production time at the very start of the sugar crop season due to a fatal accident at Portville factory and a separate fire, this year's sugar harvest is again rolling relatively smoothly. However, a combination of other factors could ultimately result in lower yield numbers than last year. In an interview with CBC News, General Manager of the Barbados Agricultural Management Company, Leslie Paris, broke down the numbers.
The 2019 harvest, as at the April 10th, was into its 6th week, during which time the factory received 37,353 tons of cane. Out of that, 35,924 tons were crushed. Of the cane received, 1,997 represented burnt cane.
Mr. Paris revealed that some 391 hours of production time have, however, been lost so far this season, and some of those delays were caused by a fatal accident at Portville factory and then a subsequent fire that resulted in damage to equipment. But despite that second setback, the BAMC general manager says workers were still able to get the factory back up and running within 5 days.
Since then, the factory has been operating relatively smoothly, but recently, because of the rain that we've been having, we have noted an increase in the amount of mud that comes with the cane. And this in itself can at times slow down the operations, as we have to clean the filters in order to avoid the lines being choked. But all in all, we anticipate that we will be able to go through this crop, barring any unforeseen circumstances, relatively smoothly.
Meanwhile, Mr. Paris says it's still too soon to give solid projections, but initial indications suggest a lower yield.
We will be doing a review of our estimates next week, just before the Easter, which we traditionally do to make sure that we are more accurate in our projections, because these projections or estimates would have been done in December, and now it is April, so 3 months on we will do another, 4 months on rather, we will do another review of the estimates.
The Ministry of Agriculture is preparing to roll out a program that will not only get young people back to farming, but will also address the issue of crop theft. Under the Farmers Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive, or FEED, some 2,000 farmers will receive training over a 3-year period. Now, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Indar Weir says it will involve the use of greenhouses and retrofitting of old buildings and shipping containers to allow farmers to grow crops inside them. The minister expects this will boost security and reduce pre-deal larceny.
There are still a number of issues that we have to resolve with the legislation before I can bring it back to Parliament. So one way of dealing with it before the legislation comes back to Parliament is to look at the methodology employed. And if we're going to use this type of farming approach, and you lock up that farm, you don't even have to go in there to sprinkle or to add nutrition to any of the plants, because everything is controlled through mobile phone apps or on a computer. And then we also address issues with the monkey population.
Minister Weir says farmers will not have to worry about selling their produce, as that will be handled by the Barbados Agricultural Development and Managing Corporation. He revealed that the BADMC is in the process of setting up a marketing unit. Well, efforts to cut spending has resulted in significant losses for at least one local company. Chairman Ralph Busy Williams says William Industries has government contracts for garbage disposal and the provision of desalinated water. They are among several contracts which have been renegotiated since government took up office last May. Mr. Williams says this has resulted in a $16 million drop in revenue per year.
We were asked to take very, very significant cuts off of the rates that we charge for providing government with our services. We willingly agreed to do so in the interest of putting Barbados back on a growth path. So taking these cuts has cut our revenue very considerably in those areas. And yet, we are here today to celebrate the opening of another investment.
Now, Mr. Williams was speaking during the official opening of the newest Burger King branch, located at the Rubis service station in Holetown. Sean Spencer has secured another term as president of the Barbados Union of Teachers. He received the nod of approval from fellow teachers during the union's elections yesterday. Mr. Spencer gained 174 votes to beat rivals Pedro Shepard and Nathaniel Boyce, who got 154 and 55 votes respectively. Ariane Phillips reports.
The newly elected president has identified research, health and safety, and security at schools as the priority items for his next presidential term. Mr. Spencer tells CBC News that research is critical to start establishing baseline criteria in education. He says in order to move the system forward, educators need to come up with an informed position based on empirical data. That's the only way he believes teachers can comfortably approach and meet demands of the Ministry of Education. Regarding the other items, Mr. Spencer says there's a dire need for security at the schools. He's pointed to the tight security at government entities like the NIS and some polyclinics, adding that the safety of students, teachers, and other staff at the schools has to be equally as important. The BUT president says while he understands government's challenges, there is still a need for proactive measures to be taken in order for all on the school compound to feel a sense of comfort. Mr. Spencer's team for the upcoming year will be made up of Treasurer Candice Griffith, who retained the position with 207 votes. He will also be supported by 6 floor members. They are Adrian Blackman, Dwayne Greenidge, Andre Holder, Jacqueline Prescott, Asha Yearwood, and Andrea Puckering. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Well, police are investigating the death of a fisherman at sea today. He has been identified as Rudolph Chapman, 64 years, of Danesbury Blackrock, St. Michael. He was on board the fishing vessel Vibert 3. Chapman was discovered by the captain of the vessel, Silborne Phillips. Now, police suspect no foul play in this incident. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes had said that Oistins Police received the report from the fishing vessel sometime around 5 this morning. That report that had indicated that the fisherman had died about 80 miles offshore to the south of the island. Inspector Innes says the vessel was met by the Barbados Coast Guard and escorted to the Oistins jetty, where they were met by police. Well, the amnesty offered by police to people holding illegal guns ends tonight. Attorney General Dale Marshall announced the amnesty during debate in Parliament earlier this month. It ran for 1 week, beginning last Sunday, April 7th, and ending at midnight tonight. Mr. Marshall said the amnesty related to guns, parts of guns, and ammunition. When asked for an update on the outcome of the amnesty, Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes said Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith would issue an official statement on the issue. Well, with the increase in bus fares set to go into effect from this coming Monday, the Transport Board is seeking to assure the traveling public that there will also be a noticeable improvement in bus availability. In a statement issued today, the board has also sought to address concerns related to its Travel Smart card. Acting General Manager of the Transport Board, Felicia Sue, has said that they know that in some instances people would have been experiencing long waits for buses. She says measures have been put in place to address this, as they have implemented a rigorous preventative maintenance program, and that the acting GM also notes that this is expected to give the board an increase in reliability as well as bus availability. She has also revealed that a number of buses are currently undergoing repairs, and they will also be rejoining the fleet in the coming weeks. Now, speaking on the issue of the Travel Smart cards, Ms. Sue explained that this was an interim measure, while development of a cashless system continued. She also said that the board is currently exploring options as it relates to a cashless system that will see not only the introduction of reloadable Metro cards, but also allow for the use of smartphones. The general manager further disclosed that the Transport Board recently reached an agreement that could see electric buses joining the current fleet as early as August this year. Well, a young man is doing his part to make sure the tradition of kite making is passed on to the next generation. Akeem Mason says he fell in love with the art of kite making as a child, and now at the age of 28, he's passing his knowledge on to others.
I used to sell kites, but not anymore. Just make them and give them away to kids, because as you said, the art is dying. Children are just stuck in the house. So this is just my way of giving back to the community, bring back the traditional into the country.
Mr. Mason partnered with Sagicor Life Incorporated to teach a group of children between the ages of 6 and 11 how to make kites. Sagicor's customer experience manager, Cynthia Blackman, says the inaugural event forms part of the company's customer loyalty program.
We have about 20 children who are the children of our insurers, or they are the children of our employees. And today they're here to learn how to make the traditional type of kites. And then this afternoon we're going to go over to the garrison and they're going to have an opportunity to fly their kites. The children are quite excited about this activity because for some of them they've only ever had a back kite. So this is an opportunity now for them to also show their creativity.